will be open, but for everyone in the combat techniques department, the special internship is the most important. At this moment, Professor Leon took out a piece of chalk from the leather pouch on his right waist. The blackboard began to creak. Each team will explore the floors that correspond to their abilities and bring back the dropped items of the monsters designated in advance. Based on the prescribed results of winning the labyrinth, you will receive the corresponding credits. The words credits really worry me, but I won't delve into them for now. As Professor Leon spoke, he wrote common language and a rectangular diagram on the blackboard that was too beautiful to look like handwriting. Of course, the report must also be submitted. Although I believe you won't do this, there is no point in buying waste items from adventurers and shipping them. This behavior is not recommended. Teacher. What will happen if you really do this? A student once did this kind of thing, and then I personally accompanied him for 3 days and 3 nights in the dungeon. After returning to the surface, the student shed tears of joy and said, "It turns out that the sun is so beautiful." Hearing Professor Leon interjecting about a past incident, some students couldn't contain themselves and laughed. After making a sound, he shook his golden hair and faced the students again. The writing on the blackboard was completed and a simple schematic diagram was drawn on the blackboard. Rectangular diagrams marked the floor of the maze, as well as ability score patterns. The evaluation criteria for ability scores are very detailed. Ability value is level 1. Those at the lower level can go to the 5th floor at most, while those at the higher level are divided even more thoroughly, and the deeper ones can go to the 9th floor. From the 10th floor onwards, only level 2 teams can enter, and the maximum depth can be attacked up to the 15th floor. Much stricter than the skill score attainment standards set by the guild for each floor. I once heard Lord Hermes say that the students in the school district are very good and many of them have been promoted. Thinking about it this way, this restriction seemed quite strict, or overprotective, however. I immediately thought that the people in this classroom were not adventurous. In the dungeon, the number of ability score is certainly important, but the most important thing is whether you have experience. How many times you have experienced the unknown and transformed it into the known will truly determine life or death. Lily, who was able to move around on the 10th floor when she was still a level 1 supporter, is a good example, but there are also many counterexamples. It is said that it is not uncommon for high-level adventurers who meet the qualifications to die easily in the middle level. Thinking this way, it is natural that students' dungeon experience is overwhelmingly insufficient and they cannot adopt the same standards as adventurers who make a living exploring dungeons. The standards prepared by the school district were likely developed with student safety as a top priority. During the internship, teachers like me will also be placed on each floor. I also want to keep an eye on each of you, but the dungeon is very wide. Not to mention the abnormal situation, besides monsters, you may also have conflicts with adventurers. If you are not careful, you will attract unreasonable situations and easily force you into a desperate situation. His serious words made the atmosphere even more tense. The students next to him held their breath. At this moment, Professor Leon looked around the classroom. In the field investigations and combat missions so far, you students of the Combat Techniques Department have received special physical and mental training. There are also many people who have achieved sublimation, but it is nothing like anything you have ever experienced. The battlefield is all different. The voice disappeared completely. I could clearly feel the tension and the high level of motivation of the students. After a moment of silence, Professor Leon smiled slightly. Please keep what I just said in mind and address it in your training in the Labyrinth City. Then a little craze was born. It is not moral, nor curiosity. Is this the desire to learn? I was also affected by them and became tense. You want to learn something, you want to try unknown things. I came to the school district with this vague idea, but since I am in the combat techniques department, I should also participate in this special internship. Remember what you just heard. Hiding an adventurer's identity and attacking a dungeon seems a little strange. Then, Professor Leon explained the specific schedules and regulations according to the detailed information written on the blackboard. That's the brief explanation. As always, it would be time to answer questions, but a new partner came to campus today. So let's change the subject this time and hear your opinions. I always feel like there's some impulse. Rapi, do you have any ideas? I am here. As I wasn't used to hearing that name, it took me a long time to realize he was talking to me. Then he stood up unconsciously. Professor Leon looked over from the podium. All eyes in the classroom were focused on me. The heartbeat that had calmed down became rapid again. You want to be an adventurer, right? So, I'm wondering if you have any ideas on how this special stage can teach you more. Instead of saying you want to be an adventurer, I'm just active. Well, in short, it looks like I have this configuration. Even if I set up a fake experiment, I'm not sure I can execute it perfectly, so this kind of setup will actually make it harder for me to reveal my flaws. This must have been considered by Professor Leon and Lord Badder for my sake. Although it's for my own good, but what should I say? Rapi, in the school district, it is important to express your opinion. It doesn't matter if you're wrong. It doesn't matter if what you say is completely irrelevant. Always respond, and always keep questioning, no matter what. You must keep asking questions about yourself and others. It is through these actions that I gradually understand what learning is. I never tried it before and suddenly, I realized that the teacher's vision was different from the vision of a god. Professor Leon is probably teaching me. Teach me the rules of this school district, or should it be called the school district style lifestyle? He was about to explain the first lesson to me. Or what do you think we should pay attention to in the process of becoming adventurers? Can you let me hear your thoughts? The teacher asked gently. Stunned on the spot, I accidentally looked to the side and saw the colleague next to me also smiling and silently saying, "Let's go," to cheer me up. The student's gaze still pierced me. I clenched my hands and moved my throat. He who takes risks, should not take risks. My voice was shaking so much that I felt even more embarrassed. I suppressed my voice and said those words. Professor Leon, who looked at me, had his eyes wide open. At the same time, you may also feel that the colleague sitting next to you is very confused. My voice unexpectedly echoed around me, and then the scene became quiet, and then the students around me began to talk. What do you mean with? Why can't you take risks even if you are an adventurer? That's weird. What did he mean? Just as my hearing was sublimated, I heard the exact content of the discussion again, which made me break out in a cold sweat. When suddenly, "It's great." Professor Leon smiled. What Rapi just said seems very contradictory, but I think it's true. The student's eyes left me and focused on the podium again. In the dungeon, bravery is definitely not worthy of praise. Instead, the more cowardly you are, the better you can protect yourself and the lives of your companions. Accurately judge the timing of retreat and whether to act at risk. This is the most important thing for adventurers exploring the cruel dungeon environment. The students' surprised faces more or less showed expressions of understanding. Now, everyone in the classroom is listening intently to Professor Leon's every word. Since we're going to sneak into the dungeon, we need to learn more about the adventurer's survival methods. Thanks to Rapi, we've become a little smarter. Everyone, applause. In an instant, thunderous applause sounded in the classroom.